Hi, I'm here in one of the neighbors, our friends' backyards, and you can see here we got plants. It's a rural place, so we get trees. We have coconuts. Here we got see over there papayas. Um, you got different oranges. They have a little orange, and this is you got oranges in another little farmland away. But this is also a place where there are ducks and chickens. So I'm going to go in, and the ducks are going to be a little scared. Chickens too. Here comes the rooster, and so they don't know me, so they're probably a little nervous. You can see the poor. But see they got more ducks than chickens. You can see 3 chickens. They get a rooster and a couple of hens. But see what happens with the chickens is that see, they're all on their way. So they got 4. They got 3, 4. Looks like they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 hens and a rooster. And so what happens is when chickens are raised together from when they're young. I'm not a chicken farmer, but from what I see and what I understand and from folks that do, the chickens, they start to form a pecking order. So that means that they'll start to form an order of the one that kind of gets first dibs on food, the one that's first in line whenever they move, and other things like that. So what they'll do is they'll peck, and they peck and peck and peck to get the other ones that are in the pecking order behind them or beneath them. And what happens is, see, we don't really kind of know, but chickens, when they go to sleep, chickens will, they'll climb. They go up into usually a tree, but see how they've set it up? So the chickens can climb into their little spots. They made some spots up there. I wonder if it's coming out. So the chickens at night, and it's around this time, maybe a little bit later than it is now. I thought I might catch them maybe at some point if I get back to the video of them coming together. So they'll climb up that pole right there, and then they'll they'll settle into their spots, and they'll settle in the pecking order. So there's always a pecking order with chickens, from the one that's up at the front in the highest position all the way down to the bottom. And if you were to leave the pecking order, you get pecked. And that's the way they kind of keep everything from top to bottom, and that's how the chicken society goes. Now, we have some of that's in us, but you know, we're not chickens. We have something else too. We have the capacity to desire an equality, and that's in love. To love, we have to be equal. To get the depth of love and see the value of what's beyond just the animal in us, there's an equality that's called forth. And equality means a giving and receiving, and a sense of equal in that. So we're not just chickens, but we have that inside of us. And the love side is invited to tame that, to come into it and tame it and to bring it into something. Because there's better and there's worse about different aspects of life. There's better and worse of our characteristics. But if love comes in equality, we find a way where the better and the worse can still be tamed so that we come up with an equality. So the pecking order is when we fail in love, when we lose love and we lose sense of equality. It's then that we resort to the pecking order. And when the pecking order rules the day, then anytime someone steps out of the pecking order, feathers get ruffled and pecking starts, and one pecks the other, and we got to find out where we are in the pecking order. So society that we make, when it's not healthy, when there isn't love, it starts to resort to the pecking order. And it can be something that it's most comfortable to stay in our spot. You know, we go through our routine and our cycle, and we have our spot in the pecking order of society. So this is one thing I want to see if I can catch the chickens when it's time for them to go up. And I'll share something more beyond the pecking order in a moment too, and I'll come back in some time. So we'll catch up in a moment. So speaking of pecking orders, I had a story of a guy I was talking to last year, and he mentioned that he used to work in a skyscraper in downtown Boston. And the office was about halfway up the skyscraper, and he said to his boss, knowing that they could have gotten all the way up to the top, they could have gotten like the penthouse if they wanted. He said, why didn't you get the top floor? Why didn't you go up to the penthouse? He said, well, any higher than this, and people start to look like ants. And I didn't want to look down and see people as ants. So another story, a year before that or so, I was out on the street and I sat down on the sidewalk with a homeless person. And I was sitting there and talking to her, and while we were talking, she said to me, you didn't see that, but that guy that just walked by, he just made a face looking at you, like, what's wrong with this guy? And I said, no, I didn't even notice that. And then later on, not just, a few minutes after that, this guy, very well dressed, walked by and slipped her money, a $5 bill, that you wouldn't even have noticed. He just said a couple words. And he walked by, and then she said to me, that guy walks by here every single day, and I know that he works hard, and every single day he gives me something, and you wouldn't have seen it. And I say that because when you talk about the pecking order being at the top and being above and being at the bottom, what happens is that when you're looking down in the pecking order, you can't see people as fully human. What happens is that you see the objective side of people. You start to objectify people. People have a subjective side where the core of their value integrates in with the objective side and makes them a whole person. But when you look down on someone in the pecking order, then you only can get to the subjective side. You can't get all the way in. And what that does is that leaves you looking at people from the top down. You only see what comes into your senses, and you go by with the senses, visual, audio, the senses that come in. So what that does is it leaves you with it's always, here comes the dog. I just made friends with the dog earlier. Sometimes the dog gets a little, here, they'll introduce you. You doing? How are you? So, so what happens with the pecking order is that the objectifying of people leaves you looking at things like race, sex, gender, body shape, the clothing and the things that express culture, the way a person sounds, their accent. All of these things that come in are what happens when we have a pecking order and we have this dimension of looking down, because we don't see all the way into the person yet. As long as we have that aboveness, then we can't see all the way into the person. See, love wants to bring us into an equality we can see in. And in fact, as you can see, when you're sitting from the position below in the pecking order, you get to see all the way into the human heart. So like the woman sitting on the street gets to see what's really going on inside of people. And when you're in the pecking order and you're looking above from below, you can't see. You can't see it. So, this is, what our society, when the pecking order kind of wins the day and love starts to take a back seat, then there's a certain dimension where you objectify. Now, this is where racism is married to the idea of the pecking order, sort of winning the day. Sexism, they all just come right out of it. They're integral to it. The idea of the pecking order, person looking above the order of people from a top to a bottom. And that is pride. It's human pride. It's saying that someone has to be above the other. And what goes against that, to tame it, is love. And love wants equality. Love wants the differences to be worked out more in a plane and forming a team and a community of people that work together. And that's what is going to allow us to look not not exclude race, not exclude gender, not exclude or whatever the physical characteristics of a person are. It's not to deny it or exclude it, but it's to see how it all comes together in an equal plane and make a team and make a community. So the view from the bottom is very valuable. And the idea of, especially now where Black Americans in this case. And here, people that are in Ecuador, but particular to the time that's in the States now, the Black Americans, it's very valuable to listen to the voice because it can see. It can see something that if there's a pecking order, people that are further up the mountain can't see, because you further up the pecking order can't see because it's looking down, and you objectify. And you may not know it. I don't blame anyone for it. There's no blame going on here. It's sort of something that we have to kind of come to grips with. So I mentioned the mountain, and that's going to be sort of the next little chat. So I have to walk right now, and I'll come back in a moment. So this is actually the next day. The chickens actually, those little nesting places were obviously for the hens to lay eggs. They do sleep up in the trees. They're right over there right now. You can see them just hanging out on the ground. But I want to just share one last thing about the chickens, is that in the pecking order, the chickens that are up top, they provide a role. You know, they provide security, they provide a provision, and for the chickens that are lower down, the other hens down in the pecking order. So that's part of the comfort zone, is keeping the chickens at the top, the hens at the top, or if it's a rooster at the top, they provide for all the other chickens that are down in the pecking order. And so what happens is, when love comes in, that's going to want to make things equal, there's going to be a lot of turning things upside down. It's going to be a lot of feathers ruffled, it's going to be a lot of pecking. But it's not a bad thing. It means that there's something good happening. But what's going to happen during that is that in the pecking order, the chickens that are higher up, well, they're going to dial up a little bit the provision that they provide, because they don't want to lose the position in the pecking order. So they'll, you know, the idea is, and socially, that can happen with us too, is that when love comes in and things are starting to get disturbed, people higher up in the pecking order start to, you know, show that they can provide more and do more for the people that are down in the pecking order. But they don't want to lose the position in the pecking order. They don't want the pecking order lost either. So it's this sort of, hey, it's reconvincing of the comfort of the pecking order, that the people that are above will kind of give a comfort to the people who are below in the pecking order. They'll show that they provide, they show that they protect, and that keeps the dependency going in a way. So, but when love comes in, this is going to just be messy. It's going to be messy. But it's not a bad thing. And there's no blame here. This is something that's in all of us. And it's something that when we become aware of it, that becomes something that we work on the inside too. So anyways, that's the story of the pecking order, and the chickens are here hanging out. I'll give you one last view in the daytime. The ducks are there too. And I'll catch up in the next video.